Hey everyone, welcome back to TapRooT TV. I'm Benna Hughes and I'm here today with Ken Reed. Hey Ken, how are you?
Doing great, Benna.
You ready for a good Thanksgiving?
I am. I got a big turkey ready to go. And
Oh, nice. Well, it's our Thanksgiving week here in the U.S. and so it's a short week for us. So we hope everybody has a good rest of their week. And if you're celebrating Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to you. One of the things we're going to talk about today is, we teach people how to do great root cause analysis.
Right.
And we love it. And so you do this awesome root cause analysis and you get to what the problem is. But then what?
Then what? What do you do then?
Because we don't want it to happen again.
No. So it's no good to find problems if you're not going to put good corrective actions in place. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to build more effective corrective actions.
And there are good and bad corrective actions.
My goodness. I get so frustrated sometimes because I see people take time and effort and resources to go out and build snap charts and gather data and then find root causes, going through the root cause analysis.
Awesome, robust investigation.
And then they look at their watch and say, well, I got to have this report out in about 15 minutes, so let's write some corrective actions. And they're terrible. They write horrible corrective actions. And we kind of forget that the whole purpose of a TapRooT investigation or any investigation is to fix problems.
Right.
So if you're not going to do a good job on your corrective actions, you might as well not do a good investigation. Right?
Well, because you're going to have to go investigate again, probably.
Because it's going to happen again. So this is really the whole point of the entire TapRooT process is to fix stuff.
Yes.
So we're going to do a little bit of discussion on that and how to concentrate.
If you don't like investigating it that first time, you are not going to like investigating it that second time or third time. So don't.
And neither is your manager.
So we're going to help you with that.
Yep, we are. We have some great ideas on how to do that. So what we're going to, a couple things to think about here. I'm going to talk about two different tools that you can use a little bit to get yourself focused on good corrective actions. One is our safeguard hierarchy. So we're going to shift over to our computer here and kind of look at our safeguard hierarchy. This may look familiar to some people. They've got different words for this and different ways of describing this kind of a hierarchy, but we call this our safeguard hierarchy. And whenever you write a corrective action, your goal should be to try to start at the top of this hierarchy and work your way down. The most effective corrective action is going to be getting rid of the hazard in the first place.
Yes.
So if you've got a hazard that's hanging around out there, you could just put a procedure in place and say stay away from the hazard, but that would be much more effective if we just got rid of the hazard in the first place.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to concentrate on is really working our way down this hierarchy. And the first thing is remove the hazard. If you can't remove the hazard, if the hazard just has to be there because we're a business and we have to have gasoline at our business, then we should remove the target.
Yes.
And that is, the target is normally the equipment or the people or the environment. That's it's probably 90% of the targets out there is what we talk about. So it'd be good if we could just get the target out of the area and so that they aren't being involved. Actually, I'm going to go back to the top for a second and kind of run through an example as I'm doing this. So
that's what I was kind of thinking. I was trying, there's some, let's do that. Let's use an example.
So let's say you work at a chemical plant and you have a tank of some really nasty stuff, some hydrofluoric acid or some pretty bad stuff. And maybe you had one of your workers got burned. Maybe they were doing a sample, they were drawing a little sample off of this tank, and some of it ran down their arm and they got a chemical burn on their elbow.
Right.
So we're going to investigate that. So the best thing you could do is remove the hazard. So why do I have this hydrofluoric acid out there? Do I really need to be using this kind of an acid and this kind of a chemical out there? The best thing to do is get rid of it and maybe change our process so I don't need this stuff anymore. Okay. Now, probably also the most expensive one, but definitely the most effective. So if I can't do that, well then if I have to have hydrofluoric acid, the next option is then remove the target. So why do I have a guy out there sampling a tank of hydrofluoric acid? Maybe an automated chemistry system we could put in place. So I push a button and it samples it automatically for me. So now the target is out of the area and he can't get hurt anymore. Right? So those are the two best ones. And as we work down to the next one is guarding the target. And this will be stuff like PPE and things like that.
That's why at the very beginning I'm like, why is it running down?
Why is it running
why
down his
is
arm?
he not
right?
having protection going down his arm?
So he probably had gloves on,
Yeah.
but because the sample station was up here, it ran down his arm, dripped off the glove, and then got down onto his skin. So maybe we need better guarding the target here. We need maybe sleevettes that go all the way to
Yeah.
his shoulders, right? And that way he can't get it on his skin. Now, we could just redesign the system.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I sampling this stuff all the way up here to head
Yeah,
level?
exactly.
So that it
can
runs down
run
my gloves.
Yes.
Why don't I have the sample station down at knee height
Mhm.
so that if I do have anything dripping off my gloves, it goes in the funnel and I
Mhm.
don't have to worry about it. So that makes it less likely for the human to make this mistake. It's not as good as removing the hazard,
Right.
but it's still a pretty good option for you.
And
Redesign
sometimes,
the
like in
system.
what you were talking about there, some things can be expensive. Some changes. So, like you were
Yes.
saying, putting in an automated. So you've got to kind of work around what you actually can do or can't do.
That's right. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these, I've seen some people come up with these wonderful ideas that there's no way a company's ever going to implement. They can't operate their companies anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you've got to balance the risk and the expense as
Sure.
you work through this. That's a great, and these top three or top four are probably the most expensive to do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great point.
But they're good ones. You get what you pay for.
They do, as opposed to like number 5.
Yes.
So we're going to put a sign up that says, caution, do not turn valve more than 1/4 turn or it may run down your glove. Right? Well, what a stupid sign that would be. Now, I could put that sign up. It's really cheap. It's really easy to do. But imagine all the human error involved in a sign.
So much.
The sign has to say the right words.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be posted in the right place.
Mhm.
The worker has to see the sign. He has to read the sign. He has to understand what the sign says. And he's got to do it.
That's a lot.
That's a lot for a human to do, and probably some human is going to screw one of those up somewhere in there.
And they're probably under time constraints, and they're
That's-
under some pressure to
That's right.
perform.
And they've seen that sign 100 times, and they go, yeah, whatever, and they don't even
Right.
see the sign anymore. So signs, while they are technically correct, are not very effective corrective actions. And then we get down to the bottom one. We'll just train everybody. Careful. Don't let the acid run down your gloves onto your arm, right?
Don't do that again.
Don't
You'll
do that.
only do it once.
So another very weak corrective action.
Yeah.
Because again, think of all the human errors that can occur. First, I have to have a good training plan.
Mhm.
I have to have a good instructor.
Right?
The student has to show up to the training.
Yes.
He has to listen to the training. He has to understand what the training says. He has to go out in the field and remember the training. And then he's got to do it.
Right.
Again, awful lot of opportunities for error there.
Now, those are the things you definitely want to have in place before they go start the job.
Absolutely, and I want to make sure people understand that I don't think that procedures are a bad thing or that training is
Yes.
a bad thing.
Those are important.
They are extremely
Yes.
important. I'm a nuclear trained guy. These
Yeah.
are extremely important things to have. But if you're depending on these as your only corrective
As your
actions,
corrective actions.
you're going to find yourself, humans will, the way to think about these bottom two for sure is that humans will make a mistake on those at some point in time. So if you have a really critical task, you can't depend on those because someone will make a mistake.
Well, and things change. So, like, you may have done the same job the same way for
Right.
years, and then suddenly there's a new display or there's a new type of piece of equipment.
Or a new glove.
And they always have to change something.
Can't keep things the way they are, right? It's got to be changed.
I mean, and then no matter how many times you try to do it the new way, the old way,
It just comes through.
it does.
You're so
And-
ingrained and you got to have
exactly.
it. Right?
Exactly.
So these are your corrective action hierarchy or safeguard hierarchy. And every time you write a corrective action, you should think to yourself, where does this fall in the hierarchy? We have some of our partners, our customers that they don't allow their corrective actions to be in 4, 5, or 6. If they're going to have to write a corrective action in those bottom 3, or sometimes 5 and 6, they have to go get special permission from management to use those kind of corrective actions. And that forces you to think, oh, I don't want to talk to my manager. Let me see if there's something up at the top, all right? Let me see if there's something up here I can do. So
Let me really fix this.
I'll think of something else. And that's the intent of it, is to
Yes.
make you get up here at the top and think really hard about changing out these
Yeah,
kinds of things.
absolutely.
So every time you write a corrective action, try to, I'm not saying don't do 5 and 6, but recognize how error-prone those are and how ineffective they can be
So
sometimes.
how do you go about finding these corrective actions and these fixes and such? I mean,
It's
the
funny you should ask
administrative
that.
ones are so easy,
They
but
are.
these human performance and the system ones, those are tougher.
They are, and what you said is exactly right. People pick these bottom ones because they're cheap and easy.
Yeah.
They're easy. I can put a sign up in 15 minutes, print something
Right.
up on a piece of paper, hang it up on a piece of tape. There, I got a sign
Right.
up. but it's not very good. So in order to get out of these and get yourself forced up to the top and thinking differently, you can use the Corrective Action Helper, which is the second tool that we've got.
We have one of these.
We have one. Look at that.
Right
Both hard copy and in the software.
Yes.
And this is a great tool to help you more effectively correct your root causes that you found. Every Corrective Action Helper entry has these 4 items on it. So it says, hey, are you sure this is the root cause you're working on? Reminds you about generic causes, which I'm not going to talk about today, but it's another important point. And then it gives you industry best practice ideas on how to fix every one of those root causes. So if you can't think of it on your own, we're going to give you some ideas. And then finally, we'll give you some references if you want to go search the internet and look a little harder. So this is kind of what those entries look like. I just pulled a random one up. This is labels need improvement, root cause. And the first step says, hey, you want to verify that a lack of labels led to the problem. Is that the problem? Yeah, that was the issue. Okay. And then it's going to give you some ideas. It's going to give you the obvious ideas.
Sure.
You should recommend improved labeling. No kidding. Got that.
Got it.
But you don't just want to say put a new label on the valve. You want to say put a label on the valve, but make sure it's the right size, it's the right color, it's the right font, it's made of the right material, it's properly attached to the valve. All these things are things you should be thinking about, and you may not think of it. So the Corrective Action Helper runs through those for you and helps remind you to check for these things. So as you're typing out your corrective action, you can make sure it includes all those pieces.
Well, and those also help you. You're not creating a temporary fix. Like if you just like go put up a sign and you're in the outdoors and the weather's going to get it. You need to be looking at these ideas to go,
Right.
by the way, we are going to put that outdoors, so we need to make sure that
Right.
it's of a material and ink and all these kind of things. It's not going to run.
Attached
It's not going to get
fall
washed
off.
out. And yeah, exactly.
Yep. So that this helps you remember those kinds of things, so you're not trying to remember them all on your own. And by the way, that's just a piece of this page. By the way, it goes. It keeps scrolling. I can't scroll this page, but it keeps going. There's lots of ideas on this particular root cause.
Oh, this book is full of them.
Oh, it's got some great
me,
ideas.
This is like, the root cause analysis part is, gold and silver.
It is, exactly.
I mean, it's so important. It's so
Yeah.
valuable. There's so much in here.
Yep. And for me, this is a huge resource for me because I'm not a very creative guy, and I, just like most people, stray towards procedures and training because it's what I'm used to in my previous life. And while they're okay corrective actions, I need to think outside that box and think of different ideas to do it.
Absolutely.
So this is the rest of the entry for this one. It reminds you about generic issues and then gives you some references that you can go either purchase on the internet somewhere, or most of these are free. You can go out and take a look and just download them. So it gives you some great ideas on how to fix stuff. So that's all I've got on the computer. The things the big stuff that we really want to work on is using that safeguard hierarchy
Yes.
to kind of force you to think about every corrective action. And then while you're kind of working through that hierarchy, using the Corrective Action Helper to make sure you're hitting the most effective ideas.
And while we have training down near the bottom, we train you. We train you on how to do this.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
It is important.
It is
You've
important.
got to learn how to do what you're wanting to implement.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
How do we do that?
So we have a couple different options for you for training. Corrective actions are taught on all of our normal TapRooT courses. Our 2-day, 3-day, and 5-day TapRooT courses all cover corrective action development. We also have some specialized courses that we teach on corrective action development. We either come to your site or we've got them at this pre-summit course. I believe we have a corrective action 2-day pre-summit course just on corrective actions.
That's a good one.
So yeah, that's another good one to get into. And those are the main ways that we do we get you up to speed on these. And again, I can't stress enough how frustrating it is when I watch people do these really great investigations and it's come up with training and procedures as their only corrective actions.
And then on the safeguard side of it, the safeguard analysis side, we get deeper. We teach a little bit of that in our 2-day course, but we get really deeper in that in our 5-day course.
In the 5-day, yeah, we go real deep into safeguard analysis.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons we recommend that every site we have that uses TapRooT out there, a lot of people may be trained in the 2-day, but we recommend you have at least 1 or 2 people trained in the 5-day so that they can have all this additional knowledge for your program and they can help make things more robust in their program.
They can. They can be the mentors there and
Yes.
help out and make sure you're following these kind of ideas. And they've got some, it's always good to have a couple of experts
Yes.
that are trained at your
I
sites.
mean, highly recommend it.
Yep.
And then, as he was saying, in the summit, which is coming up March 9th through the 13th, those first 2 days, the 9th and 10th, we have those special pre-summit courses, and so that's when you really dig deep into some of these topics. And so we definitely recommend you send either one person or a team to the summit so you can get all this additional knowledge and just really build out your program.
And you can get ideas from other people at the summit.
Oh, yes.
Besides just a 2-day, during the rest of the summit, you're going to hear, it's the whole thing is best
amazing.
practices, which are corrective actions. So it's a
Yeah.
great idea.
It's fantastic. So we want you to go to our website and you can find out about all of this stuff. You can find out about our 2-day course. You can find out about our 5-day course, and you can find out about the summit. So you go to taproot.com. There is a special summit tab. There's a courses tab.
Mm-hmm.
We can come on site and teach for you, or you can go to one of our public courses. Any way, we try to work it to where no matter what basically your budget is or your team size, that we have a solution
handle it for you.
that works for you.
Yep.
So, well, Ken, thanks so much.
Excellent.
I love
That's
it. That's a lot of really good tips. We want you all to only have to investigate something one time.
Right.
And if we use it proactively, maybe not even that
Maybe
one
never
time.
once.
So that's our plan for you. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you follow us on all our social media. Mark will shoot me if I don't say. Click the button to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and the bell to get notified if you want to be notified of these future episodes.
Yep.
And also, if you're listening to this on our podcast, you can go see these slides we're talking about and that we've gone over on our YouTube channel. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope you have a good rest of your week.
Bye-bye.